Welcome to At the Office, Cleveland's home for sports talk that never clocks out. From the latest headlines to heated debates, we're diving into everything sports. It's your hosts, Noah, John, and Erik.
Cleveland! Welcome in to The Office, the show where we talk all things sports. I'm your host, Noah, joined by a sole co-host on a Wednesday night. Shout out Erik. Erik is severely under the weather. He sounded rough at the office, so he rightfully took the night off. So it is just me and my boy John here. You can join us at the office too, though. Call or text the show 216-260-3433. That is 216-260-3433. Give us a follow at the office CLE on Instagram, YouTube. Make sure you hit the subscribe button if you are watching on YouTube. John, man, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, brother. It's good to be with you. This is my second favorite time of the sports year. We got everything from the Masters and the Kentucky Derby and stuff a little bit down the road to look forward to. Baseball, we've had real games in the season. March Madness is in full swing. If Erik were here, I'd be doing perfect. But even without hope he gets better soon. It's a good time for sports because on top of all of that, we get to talk draft for our Cleveland Browns. So I'm looking forward to getting into it with you tonight.
Yeah, I am feeling fiery. I'm excited. March Madness coming to Cleveland too, round 1 and round 2 at Romo Fijo this weekend. It's all exciting stuff. And, you know, we got to kick it off how we always kick it off, John.
Yeah.
And that's with 30-second takes. And, you know, a hot button topic that, you know, me, Erik, you, whoever, Matt as well, shout out Matt on the Monday show, have been talking about is Kirk Cousins and his fit with the Cleveland Browns, right? So the 30-second take today is, would you trade for Kirk Cousins? So to give some background here real quick, Kirk Cousins is still on Atlanta's roster. For those who don't know, he picked up a $10 million roster bonus for staying there past, I believe it was Sunday or Monday. So now we're talking about trade scenarios where we're taking on some of this salary cap, or we have to give up assets to get Kirk Cousins. So the question for 30-second takes today, John, and I'll put the timer up for you first, is would you trade for Kirk Cousins? You ready to go?
Let's do it.
Clock is going.
I would definitely trade for Kirk Cousins. I talk Browns with my dad all the time, usually on the way to work, and he said something I think he's spot on about, which is you can't have too many quarterbacks, and I'll take them all. If we got 7 and we get to pick from 7 going into the opening weekend of the season, all the better. It's the most important position in sports. Kirk Cousins got some history. Could do well with Stefanski. I prefer to get a little bit better option, but yeah, compared to what we have now, Kirk Cousins would be a really solid option to start at QB.
Okay, that is an interesting way to start it because I disagree with you to an extent. The reason I disagree with you to an extent is, yes, I think Kirk Cousins is a good fit here. We've talked about that ad nauseum here on the channel. The reason I wouldn't is because I don't want to give up any major assets. So anything that is past day 3, I don't want to give up. And I don't want any of his contract. If I wanted to pay a quarterback, I would pay Russell Wilson. Shout out to the video we did last week, the episode we did last week. Russell Wilson had better stats, had a better season last year, has more proven of a track record. I'm going to cut myself there so you can kind of respond if we could get into it a little bit more, right?
Yeah, you aren't wrong. I ran up against the clock and knew you'd mute me, so I stopped myself. But a key piece of the point I was going to make was it does matter what you have to give up for him. If they said, hey, trade us a first, I'd be like, no. If they're like, hey, trade us Myles Garrett, I'm like, no. But it depends on what they be asking for. You're not wrong about Russ Wilson, but the thing about it is, like, we don't know who's available and what we can get. So I didn't really think, like, who would you rather have? I just thought, does Kirk Cousins make your roster better, and do you feel better about the Browns' prospects with him on the roster? And against Kenny Pickett, I would say yes. So do I think he's the salve that heals all wounds? Absolutely not. Do I think he will come here and find some second career and throw for 5,000 yards and be in the MVP conversation? I don't. But I've watched guys less talented than Kirk Cousins come in and with this defense and with the offensive mind of Stefanski have a modicum of success. So, we're not a 3-win football team with Kirk Cousins at the helm next year. That's an improvement. And if we can get better from there, then so be it.
Yeah, so real quick, I want to address Tim Lyons. Shout out Tim Lyons, man. It's been a while since you've been in the chat. Shout out Tim Lyons. Do you even have the cap to add Kirk Cousins? Yes, we do. So with the restructure of Jack Conklin going official today, you say 10.9 million in cap. It's now around 20-ish million in cap. So we could potentially, depending on what those contracts look like, but who knows? Tim, you said sorry, been on a break. No worries. And shout out Dylan. What's up, Dylan? I agree. I think he's a great fit, but I just don't want to give up much for him. I'd rather take the gamble of waiting and seeing if he gets cut. Because I think that is still very much on the table, even if it's like a post June 1st, because they did eat that 10 million, but it still counts less towards the cap with, cutting someone after June 1st and not doing the designation, but actually cutting them post June 1st. I don't know, man. I just think the option of Russell Wilson being out there or even Aaron Rodgers at this point, I don't want to give up assets to bring in one of these veteran quarterbacks. I don't think it makes sense for us to do that and to add a bunch of cap on top of that. Like, I want one or the other. Like, if we're going to give up assets for Kirk Cousins, I'll give you a 6. Enjoy one of our 3 or 4, 6, whatever we got with the conditional picks now. But you're eating that damn contract. I don't want a single thing to do with your overpay on Kirk Cousins because now you feel it a year later. That's just
It's fair. I mean, to jump into it with you on the specifics with Russ Wilson, if you said, would you rather have Russ or Cousins? It's different. It's tougher to answer. I'd probably say Russ. Although you could still make an argument that Cousins at least has more upside, potential for growth. But the thing that I always come back to is this. The Browns said, we still think we're only a few pieces away. We still want to compete. We still want to move forward. There's only so many veteran quarterbacks left. And to say we only think we're a piece away, draft a rookie quarterback, and then expect him to take you to a Super Bowl in the next 2 or 3 years is a little bit ridiculous. So to the point of we still might have a window. We still think we can compete. We still think we can take a shot at winning the division. You're not going to do that with any of the other options. Maybe Russ, but you got to add a veteran quarterback. I don't think you can roll with whoever you draft if you draft a quarterback in Kenny Pickett and then also say with a straight face, we think we can win a Super Bowl. And they said that they think they can compete. So unless they're lying, which wouldn't be the first time, wouldn't be the last, taking them at their word. Yeah. When you think about, hey, who can get you to 10 or 11 wins and give you a shot where anything can happen in the playoffs while you still have some of the talent, Kirk Cousins is one of the best options out there, even if he's not the best option that I can think of ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you're saying, man. Another headline that kind of broke today that I think we can just pigeonhole in here a little bit because I don't think it's worth a big title topic and us switching over gears and doing any of that, right? The Carson Wentz thing has been brought back up as being like the backup option if, Cousins and Russ doesn't work out. How would you feel? I know we're going to get into mock draft here in a second, and I think, at least for you, I don't know. I don't know. I won't spoil the mock draft, but Carson Wentz and Kenny Pickett as our quarterback room going into April. How do you feel about that?
Probably not as good as I do about Kirk Cousins. I don't feel great about him, and I might not feel as good about them as I feel about Russ, and I don't feel great about him. It's a crap situation. The Browns are still paying for the fact that they overpaid for a guy who can't perform at the most important position. They gave him the most money ever, and there's still a price to be paid for that. I will say, if we don't have to give up too much, I do still think the more the merrier. If you're like, hey, we can get Kenny Pickett, and we can get Wentz, and we can get Cousins, and we can get Russ, and we could draft a quarterback and not have to give up a first or second round pick or any meaningful talent on the roster and have a real wide open competition, it's kind of in our best interest. But those guys are interchangeable, right? You got your top tier of MVPs who you can't touch, the Allens and the Burrows of the world that we talked about. You got your next – these guys are all on that tier where it's like – game managers who won't really win you games, but won't really cost you games. Figure out which one of them you like the most and roll with them if you can't get somebody better.
Yeah, I'm interesting. It's just so interesting to me. I wrote an article for Fans First. Shout out Fans First. They help us do everything that we do here, Fans First Sports Network. Go check out the website. Go check out all of the boys, all of the guys, gals too. There's gals over there. I shouldn't be like that. That are writing articles talking sports just like we are here, but in word format. I wrote an article about, when they were rumoring some of these quarterbacks to be options for the Browns prior to us even signing or trading or doing anything with free agency. I was very much off Carson Wentz then, and I'm still very much off Carson Wentz now. He was a locker room problem anywhere he went, where he was thought to be maybe the starter. He's been up, down, all around. Yes, I know he had a prior MVP season and he's a top pick, which both of those things normally means Andrew Berry's going to fall in love with him. I'm just all the way good on Carson Wentz in general, even if we missed out on Kirk Cousins and Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers and insert veteran here. I would rather move forward a couple different ways. I don't even know what other way you could say other than a rookie, but we'll get into that in a little bit unless you have anything else to add there, John.
Last question for you on that. Let's say nothing else is going to pan out. They're not going to do anything we want or think. And your options are start Kenny Pickett or get Carson Wentz and start him. That's all you get to pick. Which one would you rather see?
Kenny Pickett or Carson Wentz?
It's a bad choice, but
I'm picking the poison of Carson Wentz, or not Carson Wentz, sorry, of Kenny Pickett, because he hasn't been a locker room issue, at least.
That's fair.
I mean, Kenny Pickett isn't anything fantastic by any means whatsoever. I have dragged that man's name through the dirt even before we started doing this show, right? As just a casual fan. But yeah, I would probably pick Kenny Pickett just because I don't want Carson Wentz anywhere near a locker room that has already had enough trouble this offseason between the Miles drama, Deshaun Watson in the past, Nick Chubb might not be coming back. Yeah, man.
I'm having a hard time. The more we talk about it, the more I think that there's no way this team competes, but I guess I'm crossing my fingers and toes and hoping for a miracle because I don't know. I just don't see it with all the stuff you just said, but fair enough. I think I'm with you.
Yeah, man. Listen, this has all been fine and dandy, but we got to talk about something that tastes fine and dandy. You know what I'm saying, John? We got to shout out the video sponsor, the podcast sponsor, D&D Meadery, Derek and Dominic, two twin brothers, bringing back the craft of mead making to Northeast Ohio. This stuff is eloquent. It is delectable. John drinks it like it's water. This is his 66th bottle. No, how many bottles have you had, though?
I think this is my fourth. It's good stuff, which I drank my prop that I didn't know I was supposed to keep. I loved it. We got a couple more. Yeah, it's great. You can support a local company. Like I said, it goes with everything. I've had quite a few. Take it from me. You're going to want some of this stuff.
It is fantastic. And hey, if you use code @the-office CLE, that's @the-office CLE, you get 5% off your order. If you buy 2 bottles, hold on, there's more. You get a shot glass as well. Gets blurry here on the camera for those who are watching the video version, but you get a shot glass as well shipped with your order. So it's a fantastic way to support local business and support your boys over here at the office. Right, John?
Absolutely. And thanks, Tim. He said you can tell I drink the mead by my takes. Appreciate it, buddy.
I love it. I love it. But hey, a couple weeks ago, we introduced a new way to segue into a topic. And I think it's a perfect time to bring it back this week with what's going on in the greater sports world. And that is March Madness. So let's take it over to the water cooler and break it down a little bit. Around the water cooler, we're talking March Madness today, John. And we have both of our brackets here. I want to hear, some blurbs, some bigger thought processes that you have, sleepers, who's going to win it all. I'll put your bracket up first and you can kind of talk me through some of the stuff you're thinking because March Madness is officially here. You ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it. The first thing I'll say while you're pulling that up is that I'm not thrilled that North Carolina is in a playing game, and we weren't even sure that they were going to make it into like the big bracket. That is my favorite non-Ohio State college basketball team. Has been for a long time. They are struggling and having a tough year. Um, but there was all the hype around Duke because of Cooper Flag, and I'm a certified Duke hater. This is 100% biased, but it's also what I think. I think with his injury, they're going to struggle. I think they're a smidge overrated and too reliant on one player, and I don't see them with him busted up making a run at the national championship. I thought Auburn was the best team in the country from the first tip of the season. I still do now. I pick a couple upsets, throw logic out the window. It's funny that the brackets are like the most hyped, like gambling opportunity of the year, especially before it was legalized in so many places. And it's so hard to be right. But it is fun. There's something just about the science of a bracket, getting down to one team, watching your team make that run to the Final Four, the buzzer beaters, the Cinderellas. I love that it's on 4 channels and that it goes all day and that you can watch every game now. I'm old enough, no comment, Noah, to remember where it was like CBS would just show a game and then cut real quick to other stuff as it was happening, and streaming it on my computer, my roommate's computer. We had 2 TVs, so I could watch it in college. It is a good time. I got Auburn coming out on top this season. I just think top to bottom, they're stacked. But it wouldn't surprise me if somebody else from the mighty SEC emerged, and it wouldn't surprise me if Duke got it done. I just don't think they will with the injury.
So it's funny to me how different our brackets are. I'm going to try to pull this up with the ticker and see if it doesn't overlap. If it does, I got to pull it down real quick. Oh, look at me, just cutting it off. Perfect. Anyway, I have Florida winning this whole thing. Why are you sleeping on the Gators? I saw you have them lose to Maryland in the Sweet 16. I think Florida is the most well-rounded team here. They are backed by a bunch of depth. They have fantastic shooting. They play a well-rounded game. Why are you sleeping on Florida, John?
Not sleeping on them. They're one of the mighty SEC teams I said could jump up and grab Auburn and everybody else for that matter. When I do my brackets, I have a few rules that always serves me well. I literally have never won one of these things in my entire life or come close. But if you get to the Final Four and you have 4 number 1 seeds, there was a point in time where that never happened. It's still, in all likelihood, not going to happen. And Florida was of the 1 seeds, the team that I thought would get got based on the toughness of the region. I think people are sleeping on the Big Ten because they're not the SEC. It's funny how we've switched, because the SEC as a basketball conference used to be a joke, but the football was everything. Now you got Alabama losing 3 games, one at Vanderbilt, one at Oklahoma, but all the SEC chants are because like Tennessee, Auburn, Florida, there's so many good teams down there. I wouldn't sleep on Mississippi State. Like, they are stacked. The SEC is loaded, but I think because they're so loaded, people forget that the Big Ten is historically a powerful conference. Teams like Maryland, teams like Illinois, that people are saying, oh, it's the SEC's year. One good half or one bad half of shooting, anybody could go home. And I think the Terps, if they get to that point, can be one of those teams that slows Florida down enough to make it interesting. But like you said, man, who the hell knows? But no, I am not sleeping on the Gators. I just had to pick something other than chalk for my Final Four.
That's totally fair. I know Erik, I believe, I'm like 95% sure Erik is also a Gators to win the whole thing. Maybe it's the Urban Meyer bias in me as well. Shout out Urban Meyer, being from my hometown, being from my home school. I also want to throw a quick story out there because you mentioned you've never come close to winning a bracket tournament. Actually, the first year I did March Madness, I was this close, and I actually won it. But it was my buddy, shout out Bento. I don't know if he's watching live. He does from time to time. Bento was our bookie for it. We were in middle school and we were just doing like $5 in the pot or whatever. And it was like all our friends, and his girlfriend did it at the time. And I picked Dayton to go on the Cinderella run when they went on that Cinderella run. I think they went to the Elite or something like that. And because it was so close and it was his girlfriend versus me, he picked his girlfriend to win it and gave her the 40, 50, whatever, how much it was. Mm-hmm. And screwed out of my only March Madness bracket win ever.
Oh,
there's still beef there. That being said, I wanted to ask you, do you have any Cinderellas that you are trying to maybe pick out? Because I have one that has piqued my interest.
Yeah, it sucks. Super quick on Dayton. Shout out Dayton. That program got screwed worse than any in NCAA basketball history because they had a national championship worthy team when the pandemic hit, and we never got to see what they would have done. They were ranked like third in the country. They had Toppin. They were just, I think it was Toppin. They were destroying people, and then the season was just over. But yeah, it sucks to say it, but if you look at my bracket, the biggest Cinderella I have is North Carolina. I hate that I have to use that term for a blue blood, but I got them going to like the Sweet 16 or the Elite Eight for a run like that out of that team. That would be a Cinderella run, even though it's a name we're familiar with. This is not your normal North Carolina team. So that's probably the one team. That's a homer pick too, but that's probably the one team where you look at my bracket, you're like, huh, Tar Heels in the Elite Eight. All right. How about you?
Yeah, so Dylan actually shouted it out in the chat already. I have Drake as my Cinderella team this year. Did you know Drake is 30-3 right now? I know they're not in a big conference. They are 30-3 in basketball play right now. They are the nation's first team to reach 30 wins this season. They have had defensive excellence. They are an 11 seed, so they're going to get some fun matchups. They're playing Missouri round 1. I could see them squeaking through and being the easily predictable but still fun Cinderella team this year. 30 wins, man. 30 wins.
Yeah, it's a lot of wins. I mean, you can't take it from them, no matter how quote unquote easy the conference is. You rattle off 30 in a season, you're doing something right. Like it could be Drake. I remember seasons past too. There's all these non-power conferences, and in basketball it gets silly, right? You got the WCC, you got the Sun Belt, you got all these people. The Vermont Catamounts come out of the Colonial Athletic. I mean, you just get weird teams. Quinnipiac, but sometimes they do damage, and it's really really fun to watch. It's the beauty of the bracket system, because if these were like a reduced field and you were playing best of 3, you're not going to see those kind of upsets that often, but yeah, man, I love a good Cinderella story. The 12-5 matchup is usually where I look to say, okay, if somebody knocks them off, but it's one of those things. The bigger the upset, the easier the path, right? Well, remember when Virginia lost to, who was it, UMBC? No.
Yeah, Mary Hardin Baylor, right?
Yeah.
No, not Mary. Yeah, but yes. They were the Retrievers.
University of Maryland, Baltimore County. I think it was them.
Yes.
But that's the reward for being the 1 seed is the easiest path to the Final Four. So when a 16 team wins, it only happened once, their path is just as easy. So if you see a 2-15 matchup and the 15 team figures out a way to win, a lot of time that's where you see it, because the next round game isn't all that challenging because it's the reward for having a high seed.
Yeah, I'm with you. I got to ask you one question as an old head. Yes, we are an Ohio State fan base over here at the office. Do you think, growing up, and I'm a football guy, right?
Yeah.
Growing up, the first Ohio State team that I fell in love with was the Aaron Kraft Ohio State Buckeyes.
I loved that team.
Do you think we will ever touch that in, say, the next 10, 15 years, with them missing the tournament for the 3rd straight year now?
Yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. But when you have a brand as big and as powerful as Ohio State's, recruiting is a little easier. We just need a coach. Thad Matta was the best option. So we had like a couple of kids who went to my high school, Cleveland Heights High School. I think Theo Dixon went to Ohio State. He won Mr. Basketball. There was Scooney Penn. He didn't go to Heights, but there was a run of like decent Ohio State teams. I think Damon Stringer went down there, if I'm not mistaken. They were good, but not that good. And then all of a sudden we got Thad Matta and had the Thad 5. Crazy to me that you were a kid when Aaron Kraft was running point, because I think I was older than him in college when I was watching that team. But yeah, we got Thad Matta, had the Thad 5, and all of a sudden we had like dudes at every position, and we had Odin and ran through it to the national championship before we ran into our untimely demise. But do I think we'll see us turn into Duke or North Carolina? No. But you convince the next LeBron James to come to Ohio State. I mean, that's where LeBron said he would have gone. You get a guy, one and done guy who's a top recruit because he's from Ohio, wants to play at Ohio State. I think we'll have a few good seasons, but yeah, the Buckeyes basketball program is not in a good way right now.
I'm not even asking for blue chip program. I'm just asking to have some fun with Ohio State basketball. I can't. This is me throwing myself under the bus as a host of a sports show. I am an Ohio State basketball fan, and I cannot tell you the last time I watched an Ohio State basketball game. Maybe that's a detriment to college basketball as a regular season product. Maybe that's a detriment to me as a host for not doing better. But I just want to have some fun with some college basketball. And yeah, I can get behind the Daytons and the Xaviers and all the other Ohio schools around that are good, but they aren't the Buckeyes. And they'll never do it for me like the Buckeyes will. So that's just me.
I tell you what, this because you always give me shit for being a Bengals quote-unquote fan because they're my second favorite team. But my mom's from Cincy. My grandparents lived there for decades. And I was a big Bob Huggins University of Cincinnati Bearcats fan. They went on a run where it didn't matter if Ohio State stunk in my mind because I loved the Bearcats. And whether it's Jason Maxiell or Kenyon Martin or Nick Van Exel, like that's another program in the state of Ohio that I'm looking to like give us somebody kind of close to root for. Cincinnati is almost more disappointing than where they fall into because they used to be a shoo-in for Sweet 16. And now they're struggling too. But yeah, man, I'm with you. Like, can we win more than 15 games and compete in the tournament and like bow out gracefully as a 12 seed? Like, I'm not even asking for a run to the finals. Like, make it.
I'm asking for some fun. That is what I'm asking for. John, this has been fun. I want to take us to commercial break. When we come back from break, it is mock draft time here at the office. Me and John are breaking down what we think the Cleveland Browns should be doing in the 2025 NFL draft because, of course, me and John know more than the paid professionals. That's just how sports broadcasting works. We will be back at the office after these commercial messages. And we are back at the office talking all things Cleveland, broader sports, but majority Cleveland sports. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button or the download button, depending if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching or listening via any of the podcast platforms that we are on. Drop us a comment like Tim, Dylan, Barry. I think that's everybody that's been in the chat so far today have been doing. We really appreciate being able to interact as we go through our live show. Feel free to give us a ring too. We'll put your voice in here. It might get a little sloppy because there's only two of us today, but I will get your voice in here if you want it to be. 216-260-3433. Check out our merch store. John, hold up that beautiful mug real quick. At theofficecle.com, we have all of our own merch over there. Shout out Fans First Sports Network. Shout out everybody paying attention, watching us on this beautiful Wednesday night. If you are watching the live. John, it is mock draft time here in Cleveland. The Browns are at a big, huge, crazy crossroads, and it's time for us to break it down and tell the Browns what exactly they should and should not be doing. Are you ready to mock draft?
Yeah, let's do it. You know what's sad about this though? I think we're so mistreated as Browns fans that we've done the wrong things for so long. It's almost more fun and easier to deal with the team when they're sucking and doing this. Like talking about, wow, the Browns got out to a big lead against Pittsburgh, won in the first round. What do you expect at Arrowhead? Isn't nearly as fun as talking about the Browns suck again and we got a top 2 or 3 pick. And what are we going to do with it? Yeah, that's the wrong way to think about things. Patriots fans would disagree. So I don't know. It's wild, but yeah, let's get into it.
Real quick, John, I am fielding a phone call. So give me a second and talk to the people.
Let's do it.
What's up? Can't hear. What's up, Noah? How's it going? It's Dylan.
Yeah, go ahead, man. You're live.
Oh
We can't
yeah,
hear
you guys
Noah,
going
but
March
it's the
Madness or
first
no?
call.
You are our first call. I'm sorry. We are fumbling it. No, we are not on March Madness. We are on the NFL draft. What are you thinking, man? What do you want to see the Cleveland Browns do?
I'd like to see us get Abdul Carter or Cam Ward because we need another edge rusher and we need another quarterback. Feel like those would be two good options. Or we draft Abdul and then we get a quarterback in the later rounds.
It's totally fair. That's totally fair. We appreciate your call, Dylan. Anything else you want to say to the people live on air before I let you get out of here?
No. Go Browns, go Guards, go Cavs.
Yes, sir.
Love
Thanks,
it,
man.
man.
Thank you for your call.
All right, no problem. Bye.
All right,
First
we are
call,
back.
that's
I am
pretty
sorry.
legit.
John, you still there?
Yep, you got me. I said first phone call. That's pretty legit. Thanks for calling
Audio
in,
is
man.
all messed up from taking that call now. John, I'm going to let you go ahead, take your first pick at the draft, and then we will go from there. Okay.
All right, let's do it. So,
John,
second pick.
I know we're gonna do the draft chime and stuff. I'm gonna fix my audio real quick. I'm going to pull up your thing, talk for me, and then I'll be right back. All right.
All right. All right. So the first pick that I have is Shador Sanders. I feel like I've said it a million times because it's true and it's really what I feel. You cannot compete in this league without a quarterback. And if you don't know who your quarterback is, you don't have one. So we got all these guys on the roster. We got all these free agent options. Will we get Kirk Cousins? Will we get Russ Wilson? We have to figure out what we're going to do long term at the position. So even if you get one of those guys, you have to go and shore up the most important position in sports. Waiting for next year to hope one of these guys pans out and you hope you get a higher pick is not the way to go. I think you go into the draft every year thinking I have to address my biggest needs in order. And the biggest need for a team without a quarterback is the quarterback. I hear what people are saying. These guys don't grade out as high as some other drafts. Wait for Arch Manning. There's all kinds of scuttlebutt out there about what they ought to do. But honestly, you can't be serious contenders and call yourself contenders if you don't have a quarterback. Somebody in this draft at QB is going to be good. I think it's going to be Shador. So round 1, pick 2, I take Shador Sanders, quarterback, Colorado. Noah, you're muted, brother.
Oh,
There you
I
go.
now. Oh, can you hear me right now? We are all good to go. All right, John picks Shador Sanders, pick number 2. And it's time for me to eat my own words a little bit. So with the second overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Shador Sanders, quarterback. To reach. I've been up and down with it. I've been here, there, and everywhere about how I feel with what's going on with the pick and with the.
I think you're muted, Noah, but I got to give you some shit because you talked to me so many times about how ridiculous it was to take a quarterback in Shador Sanders, and we got to get 18 defensive linemen to help Myles Garrett, and we got to get a push up front. And you've been on it for months. How did you change your mind in the last
Can
week?
you hear me? Can
Yeah.
you hear me right now? How did I change my mind? Because I don't like any of the options that are presented for the Cleveland Browns currently right this very moment. And if we're going to move forward, I think they need to take a swing on it because at the end of the day, which has been very up and down, and I've said this before, Andrew Berry, Kevin Stefanski's jobs are on the line. And I think this is the route they need to take. They need to take a swing at a quarterback. I've seen a lot of the local media. You've seen Mary Kate talk about Shador. You've seen a lot of different inklings of Shador to Cleveland. I think this is the pick. I think this makes the most sense. I think he fits schematically in Kevin Stefanski's offense to a T in terms of what he's good at, what he's not, the arm power or lack thereof sometimes, but the decision making, which he is a lead at. I think he's just a perfect fit for the Cleveland Browns. So that's why I went that way. And you know what? He's got a little bit of swagger to him, and I like me a swagger player. So Shador is my pick. He's the guy I'm riding with. I gotta ask you though, because there was a video that came out today, what your thoughts are with let me play the clip.
Like what that man right there, huh? Come talk to me nicely.
For those who don't know, that was Njoku's Instagram story, and that was Cam Ward saying Cleveland. What did you think about that video clip, John?
I think it's good. I think young fella might, showing a little bit of love for the city. I'm so used to hearing people go, I don't want to go to Cleveland. They kill quarterbacks where careers go to die. They're going to destroy this kid, yada, yada, yada. I don't want to go there. I thought it was cool. It's never bad to be wanted. If the kid wants to, come to Cleveland, we'd love to have him. I actually was going to ask you, would you rather have Shador or Cam? Now that you're on the right side of this and you're ready to take a quarterback, would you rather have Shador or Cam Ward? Did you say Shador because he's your favorite, or did you say Shador because you're figuring Cam will be gone number one overall?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I think Cam is the best quarterback in this class. I think Shador is the best fit for the Cleveland Browns. So I think we're going to luck into a situation where we don't have to make that decision, and hopefully they do go quarterback. But it's tough because I think Cam is the better quarterback, right? I've always said that. But Shador, in terms of the fit with the Cleveland Browns, it's just bar none comparison wise for me. So I would rather see Shador in orange and brown over Cam Ward, but I'm not complaining if they take quarterback at 2 either way. What about you?
What?
Your favorite?
I got to be honest. I think Shador is a more talented athlete all around. Cam's probably a better pure pocket passer. I think for what we have here, I agree that Shador is the best fit. I wouldn't be pissed if we got Cam Ward. But here's why I also like Shador, and this is not a good reason, but it is a fair reason and an honest take from me. Football, we forget. We take it so seriously because there's so much money and we care so deeply about these teams. We forget that the purpose at the end of the day is entertainment. The NFL competes with, the Browns might compete with the Bengals. The NFL competes with the NBA, but they're also competing with going out and playing a round of golf or taking your kids to the movies or going to Cedar Point on Sunday. It's entertainment. And prime time Deion Sanders in Cleveland for all of our training camp and OTAs and him and interacting with the Haslams. And it's kind of like Johnny Manziel. Like, even though the team stunk, it was entertaining. There's an element of, even if Shador Sanders isn't the guy and falls on his face, if he comes to Cleveland next season, is going to be fun, win, lose, or draw. So I'm not going to lie. It's not the biggest part of it, but even if you say neither of these quarterbacks is any good, they're going to fall on their face, whoever you take. Shador Sanders for a year or two is going to be a lot more entertaining than I think Cam Ward would be too. So that's a piece of it.
Yeah. I disagree with you a little bit in terms of talking about primetime and Deion and all that. Deion's got a football program to run, brother. Like, people forget that he is the head football coach of a Power 4 school that did really well last year, and he recruits well, whether it be name value or not. You gotta account for the fact that man is also going to be busy. It's not like he has decided, oh, well, my sons have now graduated, I am done with coaching football. He literally went into his locker room the day Shador and, is it Shiloh Sanders? Is the other one?
Shador? No.
Regardless, the safety.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And said, I've been waiting for this day since I started coaching, where I don't have to worry about making sure my sons look the best. And I can just have a bunch of sons that I care about. Not saying that he didn't care about. You get what he's saying.
Yeah.
He's going to have his hands full over in Colorado. And it is Shiloh Sanders, by the way. And I'm not worried about primetime being here. And he'll be here a little bit. And that's good for the media. Let him talk about how great his son is. Make us feel good, because we freaking need it right now. But we could talk about Sanders. I'm on the hype train. I'm going to lean into it hard. I may or may not have a Shador Sanders t-shirt that I purchased that is going to be here tomorrow, but I digress on that one. Maybe you could see it next week on the show when Erik is giving me shit when he feels better. John, I want to hear who you have in the second round for the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, so round 2 with the 33rd overall pick, Cleveland Browns select Quinshot.
The sound effect is not sound effecting today. That is on me, brother. Go ahead.
That's all right. Don't worry about it. I keep hearing it cut off. Quinshon Judkins, running back, Ohio State. Listen, so when I think about what I said before, think about the Browns as you go to the draft to address the biggest positions of need. Outside of quarterback, when you look at what we're losing, being sure that Nick Chubb is out or washed or over the hill or you don't want him back, whatever you consider him to be, you got to find an heir apparent. And we learned last year, this is something else Cleveland fans do that I actually don't agree with. It drives me crazy. They fall in love with backup running backs. I remember getting into an argument a long time ago about like Benjamin Gay being a worthy first overall running back, but I digress. You have to address positions of need. This offense needs running back. Judkins is tough. He played at Ohio State. It's a little bit of a homer pick, but in looking who could fall into that late first round, early second round slot on most mock drafts, he would still be available. And no, you don't take a left tackle from Idaho in the second round if he'll be there at the 5th round. But if you're thinking that Quinshon Judkins might still drop to 60, but he could go – this is your guy, go get him. I don't have any problem with drafting a starting running back at the start of the second round. So I think this would be a solid pick. I think there's sentimental appeal because he's a Buckeye. I think it addresses the biggest position of need after you get a quarterback.
Yeah, I don't hate your pick here. I think there's a chance he continues to fall a little bit later than the 33rd overall pick, but I'll get into that in a second. With the second round pick 33, the Cleveland Browns select in the 2025 NFL Draft. One, Josh Connerly Jr., offensive tackle, Oregon. The reason I say this is because we desperately need some offensive line help. There is some up and down about Josh potentially being a guard or a tackle with Joel going, and you're not 100% sure what's going on with DeJuan Jones. There's some validity going on there at tackle. If there was a tackle to take second overall here, I would probably lean more towards tackle, but there's not. At 33, however, there is a tackle here that I think could make a lot of sense. He's got all the size. He's super quick for an offensive lineman, of course. He's 6'4", 313 pounds, athleticism, fantastic pass pro, which is always a plus in the types of schemes and things that we do. We need some offensive line help. Jedrick Wills is out. Not that he was much of help anyway. Let's fill it. What do you feel about O-line at 33? Tell me why it's a dumb pick.
I don't think it's a dumb pick. I think offensive line is a position of need, and I think if you can get somebody who's a great offensive lineman, you go. This is where you got to trust the pros to be pros. I can't tell you whether Quinshon Judkins or Josh Connerly grades out higher for projected, impact in the NFL. But I think offensive line is definitely an area of need for the team. If you view it as bigger than running back, I don't have a problem with this pick. I just think skill positions, man. If you draft Shador first, he's shifty and can move. You don't want an offensive line that's a sieve and gets him killed, but I would rather go skill position because we got to put points on the board and Chubb's walking out the door. But I don't hate this pick at all. You just got to hit. But drafting offensive linemen in the second round who are busts hurts because it already feels like a wasted pick because it's like, oh, we got a, left guard. Awesome. He's a tackle, I know, but it's like not a sexy pick. And then if you miss on them, it kind of sucks. But yeah, if this dude's a stud and can start in the NFL for 5 to 7 years, hopefully longer, take him. I don't have a problem with this pick.
Yeah, I just like the flexibility of him potentially being able to play either guard or tackle and seeing what we get there. I think we need to take either a day one or not a day one, a day two pick. A second or third rounder needs to go to offensive line just with where this position group is at right now for the team. And I think he is the most has the most potential at this draft selection, unless someone falls, of course, out of the first round, one of the Ohio State guys or what have you. You want to move on to the third round, John?
Let's do it.
Go ahead.
All right. Round 3, pick 67. Cleveland Browns select. Try again. Carson Schweizinger, or the best linebacker available. Now, this is the point where the mock drafts in my mind get silly because somebody's going to jump up from number 17 to number 2, trade with the Browns. They're going to take a safety from USC, and the whole mock thing is crazy, and that's the first round. So by the time we get to the 67th pick, who the hell knows who's going to be there? But I see the next biggest need for this team at linebacker. I feel the same way you felt about offensive line, Noah. You need something. This is a position that in the AFC North, good teams always dominate. I think of the great Steeler and Raven and even Bengal linebackers when the Bengals are playing well. The Browns really haven't had one. I talk about poor Jameer Miller all the time because he's the only Pro Bowl caliber linebacker we had. He got hurt. He never got to see his potential. And JOK is our we've never had a stud linebacker, and I think we need one. I don't know if Carson Schweizinger is it, but I would love to see us take a running back a linebacker in the third round.
You said running back in the third round, huh? With the 67th pick in the NFL draft, the Cleveland Browns select a player we already talked about, Quinshon Judkins, because I think either him or Travion Henderson is going to be here at this pick. And I agree with you. Every sentiment that you've had to say about running back, we need to go get another guy. This is the year to go get a guy. Biasly, I'm taking an Ohio State guy. I think both of these guys have the potential to be studs in the NFL. They have a whole tool set. Judkins, I like a little bit more just for his physicality, his receiving ability, this, that, and the third. I mean, they're both just complete backs at the end of the day. I can't really take one over the other. Judkins was the number 1 running back in the country the year before he came to Ohio State. They both have lesser mileage on them than you would expect out of a Power 4 running back because they split carries in their final season together between Travion and Judkins. Big fan of this one. I didn't comment on your linebacker because I'm going to be honest, I don't know a lot about him, because you'll see a theme here with my mock draft here of what side of the ball I think we should be drafting on a majority of. Especially with the retention of Myles Garrett. I'd ask you what you think about Judkins, but you already said it. So do you want to go on to your next pick?
I do. Really quickly, I will say I do have one issue. Not issue, but one thing I'd call out about your pick. Love it, love him, need a running back. I might have reached saying take him at 33, but I can guarantee he will not still be there at 67.
You want to put dumplings on it?
I was just going to say, what we can figure out. Do we want to, is the bet, will Quinshon Judkins come off the board by pick 67, yes or no? Or does he go closer to 33 or closer to 67? We'll figure that out, but dumplings would be great.
No, let's do it right now. Don't kick the can down the road. I'm a gambling man. Let's get after it. Quinshon Judkins will be there at pick 67. If that does not happen, I owe you dumplings. If it does happen, regardless if the Browns take him or not,
shake, shake.
We will. Yep, shake, shake, shake. John, go ahead, get on the board.
All right, I love it. This is the last one, and like we said, mocks are silly. I said round 3, pick 94. I just love the music. Jalen Rivers, or the best offensive line available. I'm not going to lie. The first 3 guys I knew a little bit about. I watched when UCLA joined the Big Ten. I watched some games. I thought the kid was kind of a stud. Like, I knew a little bit, even though I'm no UCLA junkie. I had to straight up Google third round mock draft, figure out who's going to be there. I just want an offensive lineman. This dude looks humongous and played at a good program. So I figured, what the hell? So similar mindset to you, Noah. I don't think you have to take offensive line in second round to still get quality players, because these guys can move around a little. There's so many more, right? You get 5 on every team as opposed to running back where you might have one good one quarterback. But we got to get offensive line help. So I'd love to see us take Jalen Rivers, any functioning offensive lineman, because we got some holes we got to plug.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I want them to take him offensive lineman as high as possible. Hence why I went with Connerly. But I totally get your assessment here. Again, it kind of gets crapshooty because you never really know when you start getting to these later rounds. But I feel confident about my pick, so I'm going to move to mine, if you don't mind.
Let's do it.
With the 94th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Gunnar Helm, tight end, Texas. He was one of the main guys there. He fell to me. So how I do my mock drafts, for those who might want to know, when I come up with them, I run 5 tests, and if a player falls to me, a majority of the time, then it's plausible that they will be there at that pick. Gunnar Helm is a massive tight end, something I think that would be fantastic behind David Njoku, especially with us moving back to the Kevin Stefanski play style of 12 personnel, 2 tight end sets. Gunnar Helm, 6'5", 241 pounds. He is a big fella. He was a fantastic tight end option in Texas, a playoff team this year. And to get him here towards the end of the 3rd round to be the backup, fringe second guy for David Njoku and this Browns offense, I think he's a perfect fit.
Yeah, he creates a matchup nightmare too in the secondary. I really like the idea of tight end. Here's the question, though, that I always run into in the draft. And honestly, 3rd round and later, I feel like who cares? Some people value 3rd and 4th and 5th round picks like they're gold. I think it's a crapshoot no matter what you do. When people trade them, they're like, oh, we could have got 7th round picks. I'm like, these people don't usually pan out. 3rd round, you still get some talent. But the question I have for you is this. There are holes on this team where we need a dude right now. And we have Njoku. Yes, when you run a 2 tight end set, it's great to have 2 good ones. But thoughts on not getting like a number 1 wide receiver or some of the other more glaring holes and doubling down on tight end, knowing you got a stud starting?
I get what you're saying. My reasoning for this is going back to the 12 personnel, the 2 tight end sets. Who is the second tight end in those 2 tight end sets right now? I'll wait for you to answer.
I have no idea.
Getting a young kid.
Probably you.
Yeah, I'm not. What?
I said probably you at this point. I have no idea.
Right. So getting a younger kid in there who can be moldable and that kind of thing makes sense. When I get in my thought process with drafts, when you start getting past your first 3 picks, you're going top prospect on your board available regardless of position. You can't try to plug and fill holes because you're banking on a late 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th to be a stud when there's a higher chance that it's not going to happen, because why are they still on the board? A guy like this, though, with the size, can still be that second tight end in a set just because of his size, and we can mold him into what we need him to be as he continues to develop into the player the Cleveland Browns need him to be. And he already wears orange, so it's perfect.
That burnt orange. It's funny, man. Texas is a team, to sidetrack just for a hot second. It's one of those teams I have a love-hate relationship with. Like when they stink and they start getting good again, it's so good for college football. But then when they're on top, I immediately and viscerally hate them. It's like USC. I root for USC to be good because it'd be good now for the Big Ten and good for college football. And then they get Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush, and I'm like, ugh, kill me. I'm so sick of you. It's the same thing with like Vince Young in Texas back in the day. Like, if I almost said Colt McCoy, he did play at Texas, but if Arch Manning's the real deal and Texas is like 1A, 1B with Ohio State next year, I'm going to be sick of them by November. But yeah.
What do you think of me using our first 4 picks on the offensive side of the ball as well?
Well, you just paid Myles Garrett a fortune and he told me how important he was. I think you put your money where your mouth is. There's needs everywhere, but I think when you look at both sides of the ball, that makes sense, though. We didn't have a defense problem last year until they got gassed and tired most of the time. We couldn't score points. We couldn't move the ball effectively. We threw picks when we did. Yeah, if we got a starting quarterback, a starting running back, and a starting tight end and an offensive tackle in the first 4 picks of this draft, sign me up. I mean, That and more. We could probably use another offensive lineman.
For
we
sure.
do-
Right.
I still think we need a linebacker, but I don't have a problem with how you put it together. It is, it is offense dominant, but if it falls like you laid it out, I think we're in good shape.
Yeah, for sure. And I appreciate the cosign on the mock draft and the thought process. I agree with you. I'm not going to be upset by any means if they go defense at all in any of these top 4 picks. But I do want to see an emphasis on trying to bolster the offense as much as you can after what was an abysmal 2024 Cleveland Browns offense. John, we had a bonus topic set aside. Do you want to get into it, or do you want to just go to final thoughts and takes?
No, we can get into it a little bit. I do have to shout out Tim. He's dropping knowledge in the chat, but Megatron, OBJ were 3rd round picks. Montana was a 4th round pick. Yeah, Tom Brady was like a 32nd round pick. But my point isn't that it never goes well. My point is that it goes well a lot less frequently. And maybe third round is borderline, but in the 4th round and later, you're really on a wing and a prayer. It happens, but you don't want to be hoarding 5th round picks thinking that the next Joe Montana is coming out of that group.
My favorite comment of the day. Love the picks, Noah. Need offense to score. My picks are good, man. I know what I'm talking about. So we got one last thing to get into, John, and that's the most fun thing to talk about here on the channel, and I say that quasi-sarcastically, and that is Browns stadium updates. There were more stadium updates that came out today, or not today, the last couple days, really. There was a rendering that came out, and it was a video flyover, and you got to see inside the new Huntington Bank Field, and you got to see what all of that development around the new stadium would look like. And of course, a letter came out from the city, because that's how we've been doing this in this billionaire, millionaire petty off is what I like to call it. So Bibbs released this letter. I'm just showing it on the screen briefly. Go check it out on Twitter. It's straight from Bibbs's Instagram account, or Twitter account. Sorry. But the main talking point here is their scheme relies on an average ticket price nearing 700, parking rates north of 100, increasing taxes for hotels, parking, blah, 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 blah. We'll get into that in a second. I don't want to ramble too long. What did you think of the flyover, real quick, John, just to talk nicely before we get into some of the pettiness?
It was really well done. And whoever they paid to render that and to do the mock flyover, I think did a nice job. And thinking about having a facility like that in Cleveland is crazy. It's angular and it's different, but like I'm getting like SoFi vibes. The Viking Stadium, I think it's still US Bank. It looks great. So to start with the niceties, having something like that in Cleveland would be awesome. Now, would I rather have it on the lakefront than on the airport front? Yeah, I probably would. They're not the Brook Park Browns, but like I always allude to, I'm old enough to remember the city fighting with an owner and the team ending up in Baltimore and us having no football. So if this is where we're headed, great. $700 ticket prices, not great. I'm not going to ever see this facilities if that's what it costs for tickets, but we'll get into that a little bit more. What did you think of the flyover, Noah?
More of the same. I think it looks beautiful. I think it looks elegant. I hope it's not too expensive and prices all of us out. You, especially being a father of many, and trying to decide where your dollars, not your daughters, sorry, your dollars go. I mean, I guess your daughters would be going with you to the stadium, so it still makes sense.
Oh no chance in hell. $700 ticket.
Well, if we'll get into that in a second, but you're trying to decide what family fun looks like, what a couple beers with the bros look like. I don't want to see that. I don't think that really screams Cleveland Browns. It screams a little too bougie for our blue collar town, and that's coming from a corporate, two corporate guys over here, basically. With that being said, you've echoed the same sentiment that I've always said. Of course, I'd love it downtown. Brook Park makes way too much sense. Blase, blah. Let's get into the drama.
Yeah.
So, Bibbs
really
releases
quick.
that.
I do think
go ahead.
I do think it's hilarious that they always do these artist renditions and make it look like they're building a new Louvre in Paris where it's going to be clean.
Right.
And they should do a flyover with people like pissing off of balconies into trees from the second story and throwing beer cans at each other and pounding Steelers fans. Like it's It might be a new stadium, but it's going to be the same old Browns fans. Like, where's the tailgating and people like getting a little liquored up before the game? That's what I was looking for in the flyover, but I guess it doesn't sell people as much as it would to make it look like it's the next great mall of America or something.
110%. So I said the Bibbs letter. I'm going to read the Browns portion of that letter, and then we'll react to it a little bit and go from there. All right. So the Browns released this to Bibbs, Haslam Sports Group. While we respect the mayor and county executives, the facts are facts. We have detailed the work, compliant in collaboration with their team, blah, 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 blah. You can read all of this online, I believe. I can't remember who posted this off of the top of my head. What it basically says is the pricing is not true in Bibbs's letter whatsoever. And we're looking at, basically 3 times less than that. So 700 divided by 3, whatever that number is. What do you think about the Browns' response?
$233 average ticket price is still high for Cleveland, but at least that's feasible, and that's average, so you can get in for cheaper. That's more feasible. I don't know, man. On the one hand, I'm like, I would really prefer they stay downtown, and I appreciate Bibb throwing it out there to try to keep them there. On the other, owner of Browns fights with mayor of Cleveland and leads to disaster is a storyline I'm familiar with, so I'd like to see them figure it out. I would much rather they end up in Brook Park than Baltimore or someplace else. At the end of the day, though, it's just kind of irritating, right? Like, he said, she said, smearing each other, calling names, and like, get together, have a meeting, hash it out, get the lawyers in the room, go to some cabin in the woods for a weekend and say, we're not leaving until we figure this situation out and fix it. Like, that's what people expect of the mayor when they vote for him. That's what people expect of billionaires who are supposed to be master negotiators and businessmen. Like, really, my initial reaction to all this is like, stop bitching and figure it out. You got more money than God, and you're the mayor of Cleveland, and we're tweeting about each other. Like, give me a fucking break. That's really what I think. I'm sick of both of them. Like,
no.
Put them at. I live in Lakewood, and St. Ed's plays in my backyard. I'll go watch the Browns there. I don't like. Give me an option. You know what I mean? Stop bickering.
Yeah, the bickering's funny to me because at the end of the day, I think we have all accepted that the Brook Park Browns is happening and it's moving forward. They just need to tell the city to continue to F off, basically. So they can bicker all they want. But when Haslam's offering to pitch in a majority of the money and it not fall as much on taxpayers, like, they are gunning harder than most owners would for a project like this. I just hope it doesn't, to go back to the ticket prices and all that, because yes, I think it would be great to have a dome. Yes, I want to have a world-class facility where we can have WrestleMania, another SummerSlam. We could have the Final Four and the national championship and the Super Bowl, whatever you want to say that we could throw in this venue. If it is going to price out me and John, the average Clevelander, because it's too expensive and they have to upcharge everything because of X, Y, and Z factors, that's what I'm most concerned about at the end of the day. And whatever plan is going to work the best in terms of keeping it feasible for us, the Clevelanders, to still root for the Browns and go and root for the Browns and not have to only watch it on TV, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, I think it's you said something there, and not to get too economical, but in terms of the actual average Clevelander, you and I are probably a little bit north of that scale, if not significantly, compared to, like, the mill workers and the guys we tailgate with downtown. Right. A lot of these guys aren't, $240 tickets is wild, but yeah, man, I just want them to get it figured out. I do know this, and I've been around, I'm not as wise as my grandparents were, but this is my year that I'll turn 40. I've been around the block a few times, and I think billionaires get what they want a whole hell of a lot more often than they don't. So if you got a bet on this and you're wondering where it's going to land, Brook Park, I agree with you 100%, Noah. There's no chance in hell that if that's what Jimmy and Dee want to do, that's not where this is going to end up. It's just a question of how ugly it gets and how long they debate and how far they delay the project before they figure it all out. So I do not see a realistic path to the Browns stadium staying in Cleveland.
No, not unless the city does something absolutely insane. And the Modell law isn't that insane thing. I don't know what that insane thing would be, but I'm just ready for us to allocate, and not to get all political here at the end of the show, allocate the city funds to things that can help mature and grow the city outside of the stadium, because it's a losing battle. A lot of these NFL teams move to the suburbs and still do just fine in terms of helping the city academy. Yes, is it going to take a hit a little bit? Of course. But at the end of the day, this is unfortunately for the city and us who like going to downtown for Cleveland Browns games, what's best for business, in my opinion.
I will say there is one. I mean, there's a silver lining to every gray cloud. So depending on where you come out on the whole Browns moving to Brick Park thing, I know a lot of people are pissed about it. It does solve one problem that I thought was irritating, and that's where do they play if they build a new stadium there? They have to raise that one and then build it where that one stands, which means the Browns would be displaced for at least 2 years, almost certainly 3, potentially 4.
Right.
They were talking about the Browns playing their home games at the Shoe in Columbus, and I was like, oh, gag, throw up. Like, the Browns got to be in Cleveland. They're going to be in Columbus until 2030. Like, get out of here. That is wild. So play in the shithole that is the current stadium until you figure out the new one, wherever else you build it. That is one upside to something that most people don't want to hear, is that the Browns will at least be in Cleveland.
John, I'm going to throw you for a little bit of a curveball. Instead of doing our traditional random thoughts and hot takes, this is me coming up with it on the fly. We've gotten a lot of questions that are a little bit off topic compared to the stadium stuff that we were talking about. I'd like to answer those as our random thoughts and hot takes today, just so that way we can get everyone's comments in. Are you cool with that?
I love it. Let's do it.
So the first comment comes from Jeffrey Champion, who says DeAndre Carter was a good pickup. Did you see this move before you got on the show today?
No. Jeffrey Champion should be. Yeah, tell me about it.
DeAndre Carter is a return specialist, old vet receiver. He's kind of stepping into that role that we've tried to fill a couple times with like Goodwin and Prochet, and I forget what the other guy's name. Jeremiah Grant. Remember the short Jeremiah Grant? He would always have like one good return and then like tear something, unfortunately. I think it's a good pickup as well. It's a veteran voice in a locker room, being an older receiver, and he does something that we desperately need, which is returning very well. So I think it's a good pickup. John, I know you're not informed. You think it's a good pickup from what I've said, though?
Hey, listen, if you can catch punts, there's nothing worse than the defense hanging it all out on the field. You force a turnover, the other team punts, and you watch a guy muff one at his own 18-yard line and the other team jumps on it. Like, I didn't have a huge issue with some of the guys that we had back there, but I don't know, man. I miss Josh Cribbs. Like, catch the punt. Just catch the punt. I get so sick of two things: muffed punts or things that could be fair caught, bouncing 32 yards behind you down to the 4-yard line. So now the offense has to go 96 yards instead of 76 yards because you couldn't get over and catch it. So if he can do those two things, yes, it's a good pickup.
For sure. Tim Lyons sends in, Chicago is trying to pass a law in order to get a new stadium. Teams must be 500 for 3 or 4 years. So the Sox and the Bears are screwed if it gets passed. Could you imagine if that law went through? This is more of a fun one, right? Because obviously it's asinine. But could you imagine if this law went through? You have to be good to get a new stadium. That would be ridiculous, dude.
It would be ridiculous. I also love it. Like, can you imagine if we didn't even have to talk about this stadium shit with Jimmy and the mayor because the Browns are so far from a 500 team that we wouldn't have to worry about it? Like, it would solve some problems, but no, that would be wild.
It would be wild indeed, but I thought that was funny, so I had to bring it up. Jeffrey Champion, multiple time commentator here on the show, talked about Stephon Diggs last week in our comments, brings him up again, says, Stephon Diggs, still a free agent. I still want him. He has played in Kevin's offense before, and it's worked. Why don't we pick him up? I'm totally with you on this, honestly. I know he's been a head case in the locker room. Depending on the price, it sounds like it's going to be a 1-year prove-it deal off the injury. I'm all the way in for Stephon Diggs because I think there's plenty left in the tank. And like you said, he did well in Minnesota under Stefanski. So let's scheme him to have some more fun here with Jerry Jeudy, Cedric Tillman, and company. What about you, John?
Yeah, hell yeah, I'm with you all the way. I don't even know if he has a lot left in the tank, but Google Brown's WR number 3 and tell me Stephon Diggs is not better than whoever's name pops up. We need wide receivers, especially if Cousins comes here. I think it could be a Stefanski Diggs Cousins kind of reunion situation that's got a ton of upside. But even if this guy is run of the mill average, Stephon Diggs in a Browns jersey makes a ton of sense because it's a position where you need somebody.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it will be fun if they do it. I just don't know if they're going to make a big slam dunk move like this kind of would allude to. They've been very under the radar with their free agency moves. It still feels very retooly right now in terms of what they're doing. They're not going full blown rebuild, but they're retooling for a year is kind of what it feels like. So yes, Stephon Diggs would be fun, but I don't know. I just don't know if it fits their plans of what they want to do this year with the orange and brown. We got one more comment from Jeffrey Champion. What were your thoughts on Deshaun Watson posting the workout video? John, I don't know if you saw this, but he was in all Browns gear in the locker room or in the new weight room, swinging the Browns ropes with his boot on, doing his thing. What are your thoughts on it, man?
Yeah, I'd be dressed in orange and brown too if I got 9 figures worth of money for playing 6 games a season and they were the ones who gave it to me. He's a Browns fan for life. Wouldn't you be for $250 million? I did see it. My thoughts are go away. I'm over it. I don't ever want to see this guy in a Browns uniform on a sideline, let alone in a game ever again. If you have to pay him to go away, pay him to go away. But I am 100% done with the Deshaun Watson experiment, and I wish he would just leave.
Yeah, I'm with you on that real quick. Jeffrey Champion says, LOL, the greatest workout video I've ever seen. He's great at the hype videos. Anything other than that has been an absolute failure in the orange and brown. My thoughts, who cares? I of the belief that he's going to be cut by this time next year, just because they can with the injury insurance policy and all of that that's going to be on there. Tim Lyon says Watson will never play in the NFL again after the Browns throw him away. I could see a team picking him up with the want to maybe see if there's anything there, but I tend to agree with you. Real quick, John, what do you think? Do you think he's done, or do you think he's going to get like a try it chance? You know what I mean?
Both. I think he'll get a try a chance and suck and we'll be done. I will say though, I tell you guys, I talk with my dad every morning on the way to work, if nothing else, and he thinks that not only will Deshaun Watson play again in the NFL for another team, he thinks he'll actually be decent when they get him out from under center and he gets to go back to what he's comfortable with. How decent is a whole nother argument for another day, but there are some people out there who think that Watson still has it and that it's the Browns and Stefanski's fault. So interesting.
Yeah, I've seen some of the Watson Warriors. What was it? The Baker Bros and the Watson Warriors, right? I've seen some of the Watson Warriors out there try to say that it's still there and he was good. I'm over it. I think the front office is over it. I think majority of the city is over it. It's just not happening. Yes, I see Tim's comment. Was your old man drinking the mead too?
That
Tim
is
is plugging
excellent.
D&D meadery for us right now, and I
That
love
is
it.
Tim, that is well done. I literally LOL'd in the middle of a podcast. That is funny as hell. No, he wasn't drinking, but you know.
You never know, right? You never know.
Yeah.
John, this quasi random thoughts and hot takes at the end was fun. It's been a pleasure talking to you tonight, man. You got anything else you want to say to the people before I take this thing home?
Thank you to Tim. Thank you to Jeffrey. Thank you to everybody who listens to us on the regular basis. I know Barry jumped in a little earlier. Jay, Dylan. It's cool watching this thing grow. We couldn't do it without you, so we appreciate the support. We hope you come back and hang out with us next Wednesday.
It's always a good time to have the support. Shout out to Dylan messing up my audio there for a second. Let me take the call for the first time I've ever done it here on the channel. That was fun. We will continue to do that, move through the technical difficulties, and have a blast here at the office. And speaking of the office, thank you for joining us here at the office. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the download button, depending on however you are listening or watching us. Check out us on all socials. We have X, we have Instagram, we have TikTok. Follow us all over there. Helps us grow the brand here a ton. At The Office CLE, @The Office CLE. Have a great day. Have an even better night. And until next time, Cleveland, please be blessed. stay up. Later.